Hello and welcome, February 19th, episode 50, 50. This is the big one. We're going to do this big with a BOOKAPLOOZA. We're going to talk about three things. We're going to do a new book review, best YA books of the 90s, basically my childhood, and then book scenes that live in our minds rent-free. So let's dive in. Just finished a book this year. I think it's book 3 or 4. Leo Bardugo, The Familiar. This is overall, I think a really good read. Essentially, the premise is we have a servant. Her name is in Madrid. This is during the Spanish Inquisition, so this is a dark time for Europe, especially for Spain. A lot of death and misfortune. Luisa Codado, she can do magic. So this book has magic, supernaturalness. It's speculative fiction. So she can do some magic. We don't know at the beginning what the extent of her magic is. Her scheming mistress finds out she can do magic and has her basically demonstrate at a dinner party. She smashes some glasses and boom, they're back together again, whole piece. She's looking to use Luisa to advance her own family's social position. It's all one-upsmanship, the entire book. Everyone has secret agendas. Everybody's backstabbing each other. Anyway, what starts out as simple amusement for some nobles takes a perilous turn when she garners the attention of Antonio Perez, who's the disgraced secretary to Spain's king, Philip. Philip just lost an important naval battle to the British Queen and is looking to get an advantage. And what better advantage than having someone who can do magic, who can do things to put you advantageously in war. So anyway, fast forward, there is a number of individuals plucked from different parts of Spain who are going to vie to be the king's champion. There's a series of trials. It gets very dark. Luisa herself has some Jewish blood in her that she's determined to hide. She wants a better life for herself. She gets a very interesting, not quite human mentor. They end up falling in love. Anyway, I won't dive in how the book ends. It is a dark book. It is speculative fiction. There are some historical things floated in there. Everyone's got a secret agenda, which makes it kind of fun as you read for all the sort of backstabbing and like, oh, I didn't see that coming. Oh my gosh, okay. So anyway, this is a big book. This is on a lot of people's top 10 list. It is a fun book. It took a while to get into. Everyone has like 5 names, and sometimes they use the last name, sometimes they use like a pet name, and so it gets a little confusing. Overall, it's a fun read. I recommend it. Okay, so let's segue into best YA books of the 90s. I.e., these are the books that I grew up with. I'm going to give you like 5 or 6, and I want to hear from you guys. I'm sure different ages listening. What are the books that you grew up with that kind of stick with you in your mental space there? So The Giver by Lewis Lowry. Deceptively Utopian Society. We've all read it. 12-year-old Jonah. He navigates a world lacking emotional depth. He goes on a transformative mission when he gets the memories from before his time. So the idea is that somebody has the burden, the honor to be sort of the bearer of all the memories. It's a really good read. I think it's one every school read it, but I still think about it all the time. Maniac Magee by Jerry Spinelli. Jerry Spinelli has a few books on my list. He was an important figure in my early childhood for books. Maniac Magee is just a crazy read. It's about a crazy kid whose name is not Maniac Magee. It's Jeffrey Lionel Magee. His parents died. His life changed forever. He's like a local legend. He could run as fast as a bus. He hit the inside the park home run. It's basically just a book about childhood and about heroes and about legends and just about what it means to be somebody in the world. Maniac Magee by Jerry Spinelli. Recommend it. I put Holes on my list. Louis Satcher, Holes. It's a good book, I think. It's got some interesting plot twists. I know the movie and everything else that came out of it has sort of clouded my memory of it, but I do remember reading it and being like, this is pretty interesting. It felt very adult. It has some adult themes. A lot of these books, I think, kind of are able to deliver in a YA fashion some pretty heavy, emotionally resonant topics and themes. I have a series of unfortunate events on my list as well. This came out in 1999, so I was a little bit older. Violet, Klaus, and Sonny Baudelaire become orphans. They move in with their oddly weird, distant relative, Count Olaf, and their life gets worse. I think the writing is really interesting. I think this is a style that is often copied today, but I think it has its origins with this series. Multiple books. They don't all hold up. There's multiple spinoffs. Good world building, great dialogue. Really enjoyed it. Let's see what else I have here. Mick Hart was here. This is emotional. It focuses on Phoebe, a 13-year-old girl coping with the death of her brother, Mick Hart, who was killed in a bicycle accident. It's essentially a PSA for wearing a helmet. This is a really good read. This is a tearjerker. Bridge of Terabithia style tears. This is the real deal here. On a lighter note, I loved this. Another Louis Satcher, as you can see here. Sideways Stories from Wayside School. I had a cassette tape with these stories. It's a conglomeration of just crazy teacher stories. There's a playground story. There's just a cafeteria lady worker story. The idea is that like this wayside school was built with one classroom on top of another, 30 stories high, missing the 13th floor. No, it included the 13th floor. A lot of funny things happened on that floor, actually. This was kind of a cool read growing up. I really enjoyed it. Other books that I think are important: The Face on the Milk Carton, 1990. So I was fairly young at this point. A girl sees her own face and she's convinced that she's a missing child and suspects that her own parents kidnapped her. It's an interesting, fun read. Very, very famous. So those are just kind of... Oh, The Hatchet by Gary Paulson. My goodness, I'm sorry. I almost forgot that. I can literally smell that book. And I can see that evocative cover. And that style of everything. So The Hatchet was one that stuck with me. I could go on and go on and go on about these books. I tried to dig out a few of them. I have a Maniac Mickey copy, but I couldn't find it. Let me know what books you grew up with. What are the must-reads? And lastly, this is going to be a fun one. The book scenes that live in our heads rent-free. This one I did some deep diving, some deep soul-searching. I want to start, though, by reading... there was a website that kind of captured big moments. I'm going to give you like 5 or 6 of them. And I'm going to give you some that came to my mind when I was brainstorming. Charlie finding a golden ticket in Charlie and the Chocolate Factory. That scene is pretty powerful. I think Roald Dahl it's a treasure. I could probably have added 5 of his books to my list, too. Dobby dying in Harry Potter and Deathly Hallows. That's an emotional one. And then, of course, you have this website talked about some of the great Shakespearean things. Juliet calls to Romeo. You Shall Not Pass. That's huge. We're all kind of transported. There's actually a lot of Lord of the Rings. Gandalf fighting the Balrog in the Fellowship. The movie really enhanced that, I think, for a lot of us. But I think Matilda at the end of the book, going to live with Miss Honey, that was the best outcome that we were all just really hoping would happen, and it does. The trial and To Kill a Mockingbird, that's phenomenal. George reassuring Lenny that he is not mad at him before he shoots him in John Steinbeck's Of Mice and Men. Yeah, I remember that one. That one is that is punchy. That is a potent scene. There was a lot of Pride and Prejudice. You could almost pick 4 or 5. Darcy revealing his true character by explaining his actions to Jane. There's a lot of that. On a completely different, Katniss Everdeen volunteering for her sister Prim. That was super emotional. Beth dying in Louisa May Alcott's Little Women. Let's see what else. Fern saving a runt pig from slaughter at the beginning of Charlotte's Web. I mean, Charlotte's Web is another huge one. That could be in my second topic too. Boxer being taken to the glue factory as the other animals try to save him at Animal Farm. So those are kind of like internet ones. Some of the ones that I remember, Ender's Game. Ender's Game, you guys might be familiar with Ender's Game. There's a scene where he's cornered in a shower at the battle school, and they tend to kill him, but he's prepared for it, and he ends up killing one of his attackers as he defends himself. It's transformative moment for us as readers, and for Ender. Ender's Game is one of the best twists in literature. Orson Scott Card appears to be a terrible human being. Once again, never meet your heroes. But Ender's Game, that scene sticks with me to this day. Donna Tartt's Goldfinch is this huge book. It never kind of seems to end. It's about artwork, and it's a terrorist attack, and it's about friendship. Anyway, there's a long scene with two characters named Theo and Boris. They're ambling around the Las Vegas desert. At one point in time, they relocate to this desert and to these like McMansion homes that are basically just no one's living in them, and they overproduce them. And it's sort of this weird, just visual setting where you can picture like this long driveway in the desert with all these big homes in it. Anyway, it perfectly captures, adolescence and yearning for freedom and adventure, yet also not really being old enough to be pulled to actually not want to be around your parents and from loved ones. Donna Tartt's books are always amazing. She writes like a book every 10 years and it's 1,000 pages, but they're always great. Samwise, Charging, Serith on Goal, Nothing But an Elven Dagger, The Vial of Galadriel, and A Heart as Big as All of Middle Earth. The Count of Monte Cristo, I think, is a phenomenal. I mean, anything by Alexander Dumas is fantastic. And some pretty good movies actually have come from that book. The scene in which his prison mate dies, and he has this elaborate way of basically escaping prison by staging the corpse on a cot, and it's actually him. So he's removed from the prison, which starts his epic journey of redemption and vengeance. That's a pretty famous one as well. I go on and on and on. I think this is kind of a fun exercise. I spent maybe 20 minutes thinking I could probably do an addendum to this episode in a few months. Maybe I will. Other scenes that kind of stick with me. I think that's part of the brilliance of reading, is that sometimes you're just blown away. You're enjoying something and you think something's going a certain direction, and all of a sudden it's a complete different direction, or it just gets elevated, or there's just the magic of the story just coalesces together. I think that's one of the best things about just reading literature and being transported to a universe that you don't know the outcome of. So anyway, I'm gonna leave it at that. I gave you a new book review, The Familiar. I think it's overall a really good read. It is dark, so if you're not super into darkness and with today's environmental and cultural impact and where we're at right now, I understand if that's something to put in the back burner. But it's a good book. The best YA books of the 90s, the books I grew up with, the books that produced the reader that I am today, and then the books, the scenes in books that live in our heads rent-free. Anyway, hope you enjoy the episode. This is the big one. This is a big one. It's 50. BOOKAPLOOZA, and I will catch you guys on the flip side. Bye.